News Radio 1360 KKTX 819 Lago in the morning. Blake Farenthold in for Jim Lago. As promised, we have Congressman Darrell Issa, chairman of the Government Oversight and Reform Committee, with us. Good morning, Darrell.
Good morning, Blake. How are you this fine Texas morning?
Hey, listen, it is great to be back behind the console. I forget how much fun it is to actually drive the radio station and actually be in charge of everything that goes on. But I'll tell you, we got a great morning in Corpus Christi. We're going to break our record high into the mid-90s today. And I'm about to get on an airplane to go to Washington, D.C., where it's supposed to snow.
Yes, it is light snow here. I drove back from Nashville yesterday and through snow. So, we're going to have yet another big snow in Washington, just like we have every day that former Speaker Pelosi speaks. So, people expect to be snowed out of Washington.
Well, we had the president at the GOP conference last week, and I was looking for a fire extinguisher. I was afraid his pants were going to burst out in flames. But I'm sorry, I should be polite to the president. I just wasn't buying some of the stuff he was trying to sell.
Well, Blake, I listened to the same as you did, and along with all the members, and I think for once he told us a lot of the truth. And I think for people listening in your audience, whether they're for or against the president, voting-wise in the last election, he told us some important things. He told us he didn't think balancing the budget was important. He had no intention on cutting down.
I bought that.
Yeah, he's not cutting down the deficit except by tax increases. He's not going to cut it down by right-sizing government. You've seen that he finds that the only way that he can cut off $85 billion worth of spending that he agreed to is, in fact, to close the White House, except a lobbyist, and to in every other way threaten to punish the American people for not giving him that last 2.4% of spending.
Well, down here in Corpus Christi, we've got the Corpus Christi Army Depot, which repairs helicopters, and we do it for a whole lot less than the private sector can do it. And we've had Lean Six Sigma implemented down here. We've had huge cost cuts, and we're talking about furloughing folks who will leave and go to work in the Eagle Ford Shale, and we'll lose that expertise forever. And the president is choosing to make these cuts as painful as possible. Let's close the White House. We took an 8.3% cut in our budget in the House of Representatives. Can you think of a single member who wanted to end tours of the Capitol?
Not one. And as you know, the committee that you serve on with me, we took a 10% cut this year after a 5 and a 6.5% cut. We're not happy about it, but we're finding ways to make sure we still do our essential mission of oversight. One of the things that's very distressing is the president has implemented across-the-board cuts, even where he had the ability to make minor differences. For example, the inspectors generals; these are the people that both military and civilians.
We had our first inspector general hearing last week. We've got another one this week, don't we?
Well, and they came up with $67 billion worth of, if implemented, reforms. That was how much they would have saved. In other words, most of sequestration and all, basically more than the military cuts combined, could have been saved by simply implementing the savings that these people who work for the president, they're in the executive branch, have said can be done and should be done.
Does it make any sense to you we're not doing this? What mentality makes that a good idea to have somebody come up and say, hey, here's a way you can save money, and then just go, la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da. Let's just do things the way we've always done them.
Well, Blake, I'll give you one example, and this is probably one of those, and I know a lot of your listeners there are involved with their local schools. The IG for the Department of Education told us that just last year she found $418 million worth of excess payments made to various schools. This is over and above what they should have been paid, that they never pursued getting back, and the statute of limitations expired. Now, if your school was one of those that got money they shouldn't have and they never pursued getting it back, maybe you don't feel so bad. But for most of us, you figure you're not the school that got that money. Therefore, that was simply waste given to people who cheated on the system and got excess money. And that's just 1 year worth of the amount that they didn't pursue and they let it expire.
And the list goes on and on with some of these unimplemented savings we could do, and I hope that's something we continue to do. But, as part of our budget-saving method in our office, we're relying a whole lot more on electronic communications. We're not sending out nearly as much paper mail, so I'm going to do a shameless plug for my congressional newsletter you can sign up for at farenthold.house.gov. And while you're pursuing the government websites, it's worth taking a look at the oversight.house.gov website as well. We shot a video the other day. Is the video we shot for the whistleblower stuff up yet? Do you know?
It is. It is up, along with the hearing that we had on Medicaid, if you remember, and how it affected New York, a place where they had taken over $15 billion worth of excess compensation. And when discovered, the answer within our federal government, within CMS, was, well, we'll phase it out. We'll phase out giving illegal amounts of money almost exclusively to one state. Imagine what $15 billion in excess payments, what it takes. Like that we were told that where the law said you could get $700 per patient per day, some of these people, these social do-gooders, if you will, were getting $5,700 a day and, in fact, paying themselves $2 million plus salaries.
Ouch. Ouch. That's why I enjoy the Oversight Committee so much. I don't know if you remember this, but when I first came into Congress after the 2010 election, I walked around and met the committee chairman I was interested in being on, and you asked me, what do you want from the Government Oversight and Reform Committee? And I said, I want an Easter egg hunt for savings.
Well, you've helped find it in a big way. And, of course, you've got the hardest job of all right now, and the most thankless. Fixing a postal system that has $64 billion in revenue and $16 billion in losses, and as a businessman who understands that cannot go on indefinitely except in the government.
Well, if I didn't have to be in Washington today, I might have gotten on a plane and gone to San Francisco and shaken my finger at those guys at that multi-million-dollar postal conference there saying, shame on you for spending this kind of money. One of the other things we're investigating is excessive conference and travel spending. And here, the post office losing $1 billion a year is at a multi-million-dollar conference complete with golf outings in San Francisco. They say they're out courting their big vendors, but who are the big vendors going to turn to? Their big vendors being the catalog companies and the credit card companies. If they don't go to the mail, who are they going to who are they going to go with?
One of the interesting things we discovered was, speaking of those big customers, is that part of the postal system's problem is they pick winners and losers, and something that we've been investigating that just infuriates me is what they've decided to do, and your local newspaper would be very aware of this.
Oh, yes, they've already talked to me about it.
Well, exactly, and this Vallejo contract, they know they're going to make almost nothing on it. They know that what they're in fact doing is using their losing operation to undercut the various newspapers around the country, and in an area that they know is diminishing. It's that kind of investment that you go, wait a second, nobody invests in a company in the part that's going away. Why wouldn't they be investing in the package portion? Newspapers don't compete with them, and even UPS and FedEx rely on the post office. Trying to get the post office to invest in what's growing instead of what's shrinking continues to be frustrating.
It makes no sense
I thank you
all.
for being right on top of it.
And the final postal issue let's hit is Saturday delivery. The post office, and you and I are both on record, is saying their proposal just to deliver packages and priority mail on Saturdays is a money saver and a good idea. But they're saying the continuing resolution that is going to be coming out of the Senate is going to require delivery on Saturday. My take on it is it requires 6-day delivery, and the packages ought to count. What do you think is going to happen on that this week?
Well, it will not surprise me that the U.S. Senate would order a losing operation to lose $2.5 billion more, and then say they care about the jobs in America. But, Blake, this is one of the problems. It's a fundamental difference between where I believe 95% of Republicans are going and where 95% of Democrats are not going, and that is we're for job creation, so are the Democrats. The difference is we're for creating them in the private sector, and they clearly are for maintaining and creating them in the public sector.
Well said, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your being with us today. We're going to have the next half hour is going to be the best of Lago, because I got to get on a plane to join Darrell and my colleagues in Washington, D.C. for some votes this evening. It's been great being with you. Appreciate your listening to Lago in the Morning. I'm Blake Farenthold filling in for Jim. It's 8:30 on News Radio 1360 KKTX.